Dr. Andre Vincent Henry, Director of Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, and moderator for this session. Dr. Dennis Zulu, Director of Caribbean Office of the International Labour Organization, and members of the Decent Work Team, Ms. Natalie Willis, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labour of Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Sandra Messiah, Regional Secretary of the Public Services International, Dr. Eldera Jaffa, Executive Director of the Global Labour University, moderators, presenters, special guests, sisters and brothers, chairman and members of the board of the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. A warm Grenadian morning to all of you. I start this morning by offering sincere gratitude to the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies for inviting me to share my views as we collectively imagine and shape the Caribbean we want. The college must be commended for its foresight in organizing this conference. It is necessary even in the midst of the most urgent set of circumstances to be able to look beyond the immediate and contemplate the reality beyond the crisis. It is said, and I quote, "A crisis is a terrible thing to waste," unquote. And today's conference provides an opportunity for us to think big as the region continues to grapple with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, including the loss of many lives. I use the opportunity of this platform to extend condolences to all the families who have lost loved ones and to others whose lives and livelihoods have been affected. During my tenure as Prime Minister of Grenada, I faced many crises. Like most small developing states, SIDS, we are defined by a series of particular challenges. In our case, in 2004, for the first time in 50 years, we were struck by Category 5 hurricane. 11 months after Hurricane Ivan, Hurricane Emily struck. Those twin shocks devastated our agriculture and much of our housing stock. Both hurricanes occurred at specific points in time. Even their after effects lingered. In the present crisis, it's almost as if the hurricane has been lingering far more than 18 months. And there is no indication if and when it will lift. In fact, the nightmare of COVID-19 keeps mutating, bringing with it increased fear, illness, and death. As with the hurricanes, we have an opportunity to build back better. But my friends, this is not the time for summer soldiers or sunshine patriots. As referenced by the American patriot Thomas Paine centuries ago. This is not a time to cast blame and second-guess facts. For all countries, especially small ones, this is the time to harness all our resources for survival, resilience, and sustainability. It is in this context, therefore, that I understand imagining the society that we deserve. Sisters and brothers, it cannot be business as usual. We must adapt, and more so, we must engage in radical change. And although the future is uncertain, our preparation will give us the best chance for capitalizing on opportunities. COVID-19 is only the newest manifestation of the complex challenges that we face in the Caribbean. We are not alone in experiencing its effects, but the impact of global issues always seems to be exponential in the region. Whether it is the impact of climate change, or the volatility of global economic markets, or resilience as a region is forever being pushed to the limit. In discussing the future of our people, that our people deserve, it will be beneficial to spend less time on the destination and more on the process for getting there. Because it is foolhardy to try to determine an exact future as the situation is very dynamic. I believe that there are certain minimum conditions that must be met in the future and which our people deserve. This can be found in most measures of good governance, and they include equity and inclusiveness, responsiveness, participation, effectiveness and efficiency, consensus building, the rule of law, transparency, and accountability. The pandemic has revealed or highlighted our vulnerabilities, including the limited fiscal space we have to address these crises, the existence of vaccine inequity, the severe strain exerted on our social protection systems, the financial challenges faced by many of our nationals who are sometimes one day's work away from poverty or indigence. The inadequacy of our digital system to improve effectiveness and efficiency in service delivery. Sisters and brothers, perhaps the most significant vulnerability exposed was our mindset. It has been noted oftentimes that our ability to respond to change is obstructed by a fixed mindset that is unable to engage in broad lateral thinking, problem solving, and creative thinking. I suggest that for reimagining the new normal and designing the future of our people deserve, we need to reorientate our thinking, including what we see as leadership. For all societies, especially small ones, there can be no zero-sum games. We must arrive at a structure, a process, and a result that involves all people of goodwill and ensures that everybody wins fairly and equitably. In fact, my style of leadership highlights the inclusion of various sectors, including the business community, the labor movement, non-governmental organizations, and the religious community. I have learned that governance is not about a person or even a cause, but rather about the collective good and finding ways to deliver the best for most of the people. At the same time, it requires special consideration for those who are vulnerable and disadvantaged. Designing the society that our people deserve requires, first and foremost, an understanding of leadership. Dr. Gwendolyn Williams' concept of distributed leadership resonates with me. Each of us has been placed in circumstances where we can contribute to shaping our societies, and we are called upon to use our talents for that purpose. It would be instructive to consider some of the following as we adjust our mindset: risk-taking, self-reflection, mutuality, respect, practical and informed mutual compromises, and a large dose of humility. Today, sisters and brothers, I want to speak directly to our sisters and brothers of the labor movement. In today's world, the focus is on individual advantage. Evidence from recent decades show that while productivity has increased, returns to workers have not kept pace, and in many countries, workers' real wages have actually fallen. In the changing nature of the world of work, the ideal of decent work with more and better jobs, with protection for workers, is not a reality for many people. We hear the stories of exploitation, inadequate protection for health and safety in the workplace, disguised work and uncompensated work. Colleagues, sisters and brothers all, this is not the future that our people deserve. It is in this context, therefore, that I appeal to the labor movement to give thought to your distributive leadership role in building that society that our people really deserve. I recall the words of the late trade unionist George DePina, who went to eternal rest just 2 months ago. Comrade DePina always reminded us that if we did not swim together, we will drown separately. I am therefore particularly concerned about the need for the trade union movement to widen its horizons and embrace more fully its role as a strategic partner for the development of our societies. Trade unions should not see themselves as only or even mainly for negotiating terms and conditions for employment for its members. 2, to embrace its responsibility for the protection of rights and interests of workers who may not be organized into a trade union, or even workers who are unemployed. For surely the labor movement is not limited to formal members of the trade unions. And thirdly, it should seek opportunities to improve the economic condition of its members and assist them in generating wealth. These are undoubtedly difficult times. But we in the Caribbean were forged in the worst kinds of inhumanity. Resilience runs deep within us. All people deserve to live in conditions marked by social justice, fairness, and equity, where no one goes hungry, and where a child can aspire and realize her or his full potential as a human being. This COVID-19 pandemic is therefore an opportunity for us, even as we face down illness and death, to draw on our reserves and not just survive the pandemic, but to strive and prosper. Permit me, therefore, in closing, to borrow from and to paraphrase the Black Stalin when he says this is a time for us to have confidence, to show patriotism, and to remember that if we ever feel to surrender, we can make it if we try. I encourage you to keep the faith. I thank you all, my dear brothers and sisters.